Staying silent can be very hard and can be very difficult. And sometimes it can seem as if God is not with you, or he's given up, or is he busy? Lord, I'm still in queue. What are you going to do about this situation? What are you going to do about these individuals? What are you going to do about that person that's lying on me? What are you going to do about this person who's twisted the narrative? What are you going to do about this person who has taken a situation and capitalize on my reaction, my final reaction to their horrible, continual, perpetual behavior towards me? But when I respond and when I am out of character, that is hailed upon and that is magnified, and suddenly I become the bad person. Lord, I'm still in queue. I'm still holding my number. Are you hearing me? Guys, these are things that happen, and in the midst of it all, the Lord is telling you to be still. Be still, Lord. I feel like I'm still at the beginning of the line while they're taking a 100-meter dash and they're doing all this, and they're passing the baton, and they're doing a relay race, and they are doing a pole vaulting, and they're doing all these things, Lord, gymnastics, all this stuff is going. The Olympics of my character is happening while I am sitting here, and you're telling me to be silent, not to do anything, not to tell my part of the story, not to retaliate, not to show the text, not to pull out the photos, not to get on the mic, not to get on a Facebook Live or an IG. Lord, you're telling me not to do any of these things. You're not telling me to do a live stream. You're not telling me, Lord, why can't I put a recorder in my pocket or at least share what I know? But in it all, God is saying, be still. Sometimes this can be the hardest thing to do, but this is truly the greatest discipline of our spiritual maturity and where we are, where we can say, it's not my will, Lord, but yours be done. It is the hardest thing. You know, when Jesus went into the Garden of Gethsemane, he prayed 3 different times. This is the first time I ever really paid attention to it. When I read the Bible page by page, I didn't skip. I realized that Jesus did not want to be crucified. I would say, got cold feet. He was nervous. He was sweating, and it became as drops of blood. And for a long time, I've always said to myself that it was a figurative thing, that maybe he had such anxiety that he was sweating like crazy, because I've experienced that before where I've been really praying and I was sweating, you know. But I've been reading a book where there is actually a medical condition, something that happens when a person is in a high level of anxiety. Like, this can possibly happen when someone is like getting ready to face decapitation or something really badly. And I don't remember the whole process of it. I was reading it. It's the book that I'm reading, and it talks about like the whole anatomy and physiology of like the forensics of the Lord's crucifixion. You know, a lot of times we read it and we're like, oh, he died on the cross, oh, palm branches and nails and a cross and some wood. And he died with a little wrapping around his waist. Oh, a tea, right? But when you really read what was happening to his body, it makes it so much different. But anyway, I can't remember the name of the condition. Hold on, I think I have the book still. Let me find it. Okay, so the book that I'm reading is called The Crucifixion of Jesus, and it's a forensic inquiry, and it's by Frederick T. Zugby. He's no longer alive. But anyway, the condition is a rare condition that is called hematidrosis. Hematidrosis, and they have other terms for it. That's pseudocruentus, and it is a significant. There seem to be a lot of associations, and what it happens is severe anxiety. Okay, it's a severe anxiety reaction that's triggered by fear. Okay, so, and they gave some examples of people who were condemned to die by the guillotine or hanging, things of that nature. they can get that. Okay, so forgive me, Lord, and for anyone else where I have always said it was figure of speech. I thought it was, but it wasn't. So let's get back on track here. So imagine that he's faced with something that's very uncomfortable, but yet he says, "Not my will, Lord, but yours be done." And that can be very difficult for us today. In a world where gaslighting is at its high, and gaslighting, for those of you that don't know that, not being facetious, is when someone tries to cause you to question the reality of what they've done and what you feel. They make you feel like it's silly. They make you feel as if it never happened. Okay, that's one of the many layers of what gaslighting is. So just imagine that. You're faced with that technology where rumors about you can get out so quickly, text messages, as I said, posts, workplace bullying, church bullying, gaslighting, passive aggression in the church, the message that is so ironically close to the situation that you just discussed, where they use a pulpit as a weapon against you, or call in the shady Grady prophet with a shoe with no laces to come in and tell you, "Thus saith the Lord." But it's not the sovereign Lord, but the Lord of the underground, the Lord of Gehenna. Okay, so when that is happening and they're so loud and it's going on and you've been ostracized and people just believe, and they suddenly pull away from you, and the children don't want to talk to you anymore, and you're no longer invited to things anymore, and at work they're treating you weird because your boss or whoever has declared you to be insane and crazy. Oh, the desire to tell your side of the story. It's going to be so tempting. You want to tell your son, because if y'all don't know, and sometimes you simply just want to just drop kick them, just right at the very edge of the chin, just enough to graze, not impact, just a swift, you know what I'm saying? But God says to be still. When you've cried yourself to sleep and no one cares, when you have been continually abused and mistreated by your husband or your wife, and you've sat there, or your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your ex, and you try to love on them, but they continue to abuse you. And when you are reactive, and when maybe you got very upset and you said some things you shouldn't have said, and you threw something, maybe you were so angry, you cried, you screamed, they pulled out the camera and they recorded your moment to paint a picture of, look at her, look at him, see, this is what I'm putting up with. I've been a great husband, I've always been a good wife. When they hide the hand, and just like Jesus was angry. He overturned the table in the very early chapter. I believe it's Mark chapter 1 or 2 or 3. He threw the table over. Oh, some people would have taken a snapshot to say, this is who he is. Look at him. How could he be the Son of God? He's been violent, and he got a whipped and whipped us too. Oh no. They'll take a moment to try to besmirch your identity. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's okay to behave this way, but when you are constantly around people who hurt you and 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 antagonize you and keep, if you are not careful, it can bring you to a point where you do the unthinkable or react in a way and behave in a way that you normally would not. And that is why it's so important, guys. I'm going to say this and I'm going to step away from it. If you have it in you and you have the ability to get away when a relationship has ended, And when the Lord is saying, leave it alone, get out of that thing, because it can change your character, because you're around a person who is dark and evil, and all they're doing is transferring that dark energy on you. They're transferring that evil on you. They're attacking you, and you're eventually, when you're backed into a corner, you're going to come out fighting. And what do? Look, record you, laugh at you, mock you, call up somebody as you're crying and wailing and upset. Mama, you hear what I'm going through? Pastor, you hear what I'm going through? Oh, prophet, you hear what I'm going through? And everybody will turn on you. They turn on you on at the job. When they get people assigned statements at work to say you did something that you didn't do, and you know you didn't do it. When you stood up for what's right, you're demonized for it. And you may question God and say, Lord, you told me to stand up for truth. You told me to speak your word, and look at what's happening to me. But I want you to understand that God is not mocked. Whatever someone sows, they shall reap. Try not to focus on trying to see them get hurt, or trying to see the revenge come. Set your sights on him. Look forward. Even when they appear to be making a lot of noise and talking, be still and trust God that there's nothing you can do. You may try to be messy. You may try to show the evidence. But when people's heart is set against you, it's not going to matter what you show them. Their heart is already fixed to be angry with you. Their heart is already fixed to find fault with you. When God says to be still, there are things he's going to work out, and there's things that he's going to uncover that no amount of evidence you could ever bring forward would ever be able to compare to when he vindicates you. You see, God doesn't want you to be in that cesspool of gossip and malice and mudslinging. He wants you to be still, and he is going to do what he needs to do. Some of you think, oh, well, the person lived the best life and they died in these silken sheets, and they were buried in a golden casket, and I didn't get to see my salvation. But you don't understand it. You don't know what may be going on beyond this realm. Everybody has to answer to God, whether you live to see it or you don't. God does not forget. And what God wants you and I to always focus on is on him. When things have happened, he wants you to stay clean. He wants you to be whole. He wants you to learn the disciplines of being still and trusting God to do the rest. There's a lot of people that they couldn't be still, so they decide to take revenge. And they end up killing somebody. They either end up getting killed in the process of trying to get revenge, or now they're in prison. And now they're prison being counselors for people and telling people, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have, could have. There are people right now who you are trying to explain your side, and in explaining your side, it made it worse. And you trying to do things, you ended up being in jail. You ended up being sued. You ended up being labeled a stalker. You ended up having a charge against you, trying to handle things your way, or not listening to God when he tells you to leave this person alone. You want to go fight with this woman that he keeps messing with. You want to go argue with this man. You want to keep letting this Jezebel type of woman keep you running up on guys and getting into arguments, not knowing it's set to put you 6 feet under, or vice versa. Be still. The hardest thing is to be still when people are laughing and mocking. When people are saying, oh, God's so great, why is your life so jacked up? God's so great, what's going on here? What's going on there? And you can be discouraged. But God knows what he plans to do. You don't know his plans. I don't know his plans. And the hardest thing is when people are talking about you maliciously and in a vicious way. But in all of it, keep your eyes focused on God. Do the things you need to do. Go get the counsel you may need to get. Go start working out. Do what he tells you to do. Go and enjoy yourself. Learn who he is so he can open up your understanding, so that his peace that passes all understanding will begin to get down in you. And understand that God's going to pull the covers off of them, and it's going to be exposure, and it's going to be out there. Because let me tell you what happens. People will gather together to pull away and to destroy you. There are people who normally don't like each other, but because they have your hurt in common, they have the evil desire to see you shamed in common, they come together and they become friends. Just like Pilate and Caesar. They were not normally friends, but you know what? They had the crucifixion of Jesus in common. And so they became friends from that day forward, even though Pilate did not want to kill Jesus. But the bottom line that I'm trying to tell you, people come together because they have malice in common. They have evil in common. They have vengeance in common. They have darkness in common. And so you feel bad. You're wondering, oh, why the family's closer together now? Because now they can gnash on you. Now they can talk about you. Now they can do that. But what happens when people come together? A lot of times what's going to happen, because they only have evil and malice in common, when they get bored and they get down to the grizzle of gossip with you and there's nothing left, they're going to turn on one another. You see, if you keep your eyes fixed on God, if you keep your eyes on Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith, regardless of how it looks and regardless of how it feels to your body, keep your eyes on God. Keep your eyes fixed on him, because he is going to vindicate you. He will vindicate you for those who lied on you, for those who accused you. You lost your job because of people. You lost your marriage. You lost your relationships. Your children don't want to talk to you because the parent painted this picture of you. You've lost connection. You don't know your grandbabies. You don't know the other side of the family. You're not invited anymore. But a lot of times when you think you're out and you've been cut out, what you don't realize, you have been hidden. You have been pulled out of the valley of the darkness, the shadow of the valley of death. Because a lot of times those people, they know who they're dealing with, but they have got to a place in their life, they've learned how to survive. And God is like, no, I don't want you to survive. I want you to thrive. I want you to grow. I want you to take all these little chains off of you, off of your mind. I want you to get out the dead man's clothes. I want to get you away from the generational and familiar curses. I want to get you out of this relationship. I want you to put down the broken toys and to put down the half-bit apples. I want you to stop eating the crumbs. I want you to stop being the pick me girl. I want you to stop being a man that feels like you always got to be helping these broken women, because they have to have a desire to do the things of God. They have to have a desire to be healed. I want you to worry about you now. I want you to be whole for the woman I truly have for you. I want you to be whole and healed for the man I want for you. I want you to be whole and steadfast for the things I have planned for your life, the people that you will affect. I want you to be whole and steadfast so you can reach out to those who are in the harvest in need of an encouraging word, a smile, if not just a hello. But if you're blinded and want to go tell your point, the person who knows what happens is God. What happened, he knew, he saw. That's who is the most important person. Him, God. There's always an unseen audience, an audience of evil. And then there's God and his holy and mighty angels. So even though it's hard to be still, put your whole trust in God. Though your couch be soaked with tears, as far as David has said before, look up. Look to the hills from whence comes your help. Your help comes from God who made the heavens and the earth. He will not suffer your foot to be moved. He that keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. He's not sleeping. He's keeping you. He's keeping you. When they're gnashing and they're carrying on, it's to scare you to go back. It's to scare you to break down. It's to scare you so that you will get ahead of God and do something to mess up your victory. And at the end of it all, you'll be mocked and scorned. Imagine when the Pharisee and the scribe was sitting around gloating and watching him on the cross. And they were mumbling, oh, he's saying that he said he's the Son of God, let him come down. And they were silently saying that under their breath while other people mocked him. Imagine if the Lord had just got into that and just sent the angels, the legions of angels, to come and get him. I think that would have been glorious. That would have been awesome. I'd have been up there, got off that cross like Iron Man and lit up all of them. But guess what? What would have happened to us? And so I want you to understand, despite how it looks, the enemy will use people and let them taunt you so you will get ahead of God or do things, break out your own story and do whatever, but you forfeit the greater purpose that God has for you. Silence and being silent can be very difficult. You may feel like you're losing, but you are gaining because you're not walking in the flesh. You're walking in the Spirit. You stay encouraged. You keep your eyes forward. Don't give up. God sees everything, and He will vindicate you. God bless.